Welcome to Heart of the Lion. My name is Anthony Hart. Today I wanted to talk about masculinity and femininity. I was smoking my cigar. I went into the forest and I was smoking some tobacco. And a woman who's also spiritually praying, spiritually inclined, walked by and she covered her nose at the smoke. And the tobacco herb is a masculine herb. And I get organic, cigars or organic whole leaf and make my own cigars. So, anyways, was out there praying in the forest by myself, and this woman walked by, and she was covering her nose at the smoke, and it's a kind of a thing now where uh, the feminine paradigm right now in the West is kind of adverse to smoking. There was a lot of stuff that happened with the tobacco companies back in the day in the 90s and the 80s. The media has popped it up in a certain way, and a lot of those things that were going on with tobacco really truthfully are about chemicals. They're not about the herb itself. But the herb itself, the tobacco herb itself, is is a very masculine energy, you know. And I was thinking about it when I was in the forest, and she walked by, and it was okay, no problem. Everybody's allowed to close their nose and not want to smell tobacco smoke. That's fine. There's plenty of smells that I don't like that I cover my nose at, you know. Anyways, she walked by like that, and I thought to myself, you know, masculinity is a powerful force. Masculinity has more to it than just raising children and being part of a family. You know, those are things that are important for masculinity too, but masculinity has more to it than just being part of a family and being part of a relationship with a woman. Things that have to do with masculinity have a lot to do with war, you know, and strength and power and dominance and all these kinds of things. Masculinity is this broad thing that has these pieces of it in the spectrum. And those pieces are part of the world, whether we like it or not. Those pieces are a part of our reality. But also, just because that's part of reality and also part of masculinity doesn't make it the only thing going on in reality and the only important thing in our reality or in masculinity. Masculinity is also about being able to temper those things down, to temper those emotions, to temper those thoughts, to temper those logistics, to temper those qualities down so that a match can be made with the female to further create life. And in order to that, some of those masculine traits need to be tempered down to a degree. It doesn't mean that they need to go away completely. It just means that they need to be managed in order to allow life to prosper by both sides of life being able to come together and merge in union. And so tempering that down is a crucial part of masculinity. And if you just learn about the war aspect and you don't learn about tempering it down, you haven't really mastered masculinity either. Masculinity has more to it than just that. And masculinity is also, you know, we can throw in there about adventure too, you know, about seeking beyond, seeking beyond. Masculinity is also about tempering it down so you can raise your seeds, your fruit of your loins, your children. To be able to raise children, masculinity is crucially important, but you can't give children the totally untempered masculinity. It can damage them in a heavy duty way. So you have to be able to temper it down and dole it out in these gentle doses for children. And that is part of masculinity, is to be able to know how to hold that big, powerful, war hammer, mighty strength, and to be able to temper it given the situation, whatever the situation is, dealing with children, dealing with a wife, dealing with the world, dealing with specific issues that call for all different pieces of masculinity. Examples: firefighters, they're strong, they're built, they're powerful. They could be ready for war. You know, these guys are warriors. But when they go to a burning building, they're not trying to kick people's butts. They're trying to get in there and save life. And so they need to temper those other aspects of masculinity and focus on the aspects that are saving life, that are getting the job done. And the same is true when you have children, or when you have a wife or a partner, or you're dealing with certain scenarios. You need to be able to temper those things. But that doesn't mean masculinity isn't this broad amount of things, this large swath of experience. It is, but being able to manage that experience is crucially important for mastering masculinity. And the same is true for femininity. Femininity is so much about the mystery, and about the mystery of the unknown, and about the night and the darkness and the deep emotions, and the getting caught up in it, and moving with the water, moving with the flow, and it's so much just getting taken by the flow, and opening yourself up completely to the universe and whatever direction it takes you. This flow, femininity is huge. There's a huge chunk of experience. There's a huge swath of experience that has to do with femininity. But just because all that is femininity does not mean that you don't have to temper that in order to have a relationship, to make a union with a man, so that life can prosper, so that life can flourish. You need to be able to temper that as a woman, to manage that, to balance that. And the same is true for children. Just because you may be open to the flow and the mystery and the dark unknown and the revealing, what's beyond the next corner. Just because the feminine spirit encapsulates all this, and all this is femininity, doesn't mean that children can handle that. If you just give that to children, and you just expose them to all that the flow may bring, whatever it may bring, the mystery of life completely, and surrendering to everything that comes. If you just give only that to children, you can damage them really heavy too. You can damage them really heavy. Children aren't ready for that whole dark mystery of the night and the moon and the emotions. You need to be able to temper that and to dole it out to them in little pieces, in little ways. So the masculine and the feminine are these huge swaths of experience. And sometimes because of things that we've gone through in our life, or because even where we're at, sometimes where we're at, just where we're at, the things we're processing in our life, heavy masculinity or heavy femininity might not be the most optimum, beautiful, powerful medicine for us at that moment in our lives. Just because it's not the most potent, beautiful medicine for us in our lives at that time does not mean that that experience doesn't exist, or that somebody else shouldn't be utilizing that experience in different ways. We have to go through what we have to go through, and the right timing is everything for everyone, and it's individual, and it changes for everyone. The right timing, the right moment, the right place, the right amount. It's go back to that saying in herbalism. What's the difference between medicine and poison? And the only difference between medicine and poison is dose. Dose. Too much of anything at the wrong time will kill you. And too little of something at the wrong time will also kill you. Just the right amount of just the right thing at just the right time is just the medicine you need to make life flourish again, to make yourself whole again. That thing, that amount of thing, it changes from moment to moment, from day to day, from situation to situation, from person to person, from epoch to epoch in your life. It changes. And so we have to understand that. And that understanding of the right dose, right timing, the balancing of both the masculine and the feminine, that's called wisdom. That's what wisdom is to know just the right amount to offer, just the right amount of surrender, just the right amount of standing your boundaries and your ground and being that warrior spirit. Just the right amount of indulging in the mystery, just the right amount of conquering and taking control of the situation and powering forward. And it's all about these right dosages at the right time, in the right amount, for the right person. And so both of these forces are important in our lives, and we find ourselves sometimes in this battle between masculine and femininity, and it's not a battle. In order to make life flourish, both aspects are necessary. The masculine is imperative here, and the feminine is imperative. They both work conjunctively together, succinctly together, to allow life to flourish. But in order for them to come together in a harmonious way that allows more to come into being, more beauty, more power, more love, more flow, more abundance, more generations, more seeds, more flourishing of the beautiful reality of life, the more flourishing of the beautiful reality of God. In order to allow that to happen, both of these sides need to become mastered and tempered so that they can work together. And when they come apart in different ways, they can work good for a time being, and then they can come back into succinct and harmony. And that's the way the universe rolls, is that it moves in and out of these cycles, sometimes a little bit more masculinity, sometimes a little bit more femininity. In this certain place, more femininity. In this certain place, more masculinity. And so masculine and feminine forces are both beautiful, important things in this life. And they need to be mastered by us, and to be propagated in a way that allows life to flourish, but allows also for those forces individually to be seen as meritorious, because they truly are, both the fire and the water, the dark and the light. Both forces are needed in this world for harmony. And in fact, the truth is that the forces learn from each other, and a little bit of the other force can go a long way. And there are places and times for masculine energy, just straight masculine energy. And there are places and times for just straight feminine energy, just pure feminine energy. There are places and times for that. And I guess one of the other things I wanted to mention too was that just because masculinity in its pure sense is an important force to utilize, there are plenty of masculine circles that will harness and utilize that energy in a way that doesn't allow that energy at some point to conform and come back to being able to raise children, to being able to be in a relationship with a female. And there are plenty of ways that feminine energy can be utilized in its pure form in ways that doesn't allow that feminine energy to come back and temper itself and match up with that masculinity again, and be able to handle those children and deal with those children in an appropriate way, in a wise way. But there are also circles of friends, people, groups that do handle it in a way where you can really experience that masculine energy or really experience that feminine energy and still have the capability to come back and be able to sync up with the feminine energy, with the masculine energy, and to be able to raise children again. And so we have to be wise about choosing our groups too, because there's sometimes some of these groups cannot allow that conjoining again. And that conjoining is life itself. That conjoining is how we all arrived here, through the masculine and the feminine principles interacting in a way that creates life, nourishment, abundance, and flow. And so, both of these things have to be managed both in the relationships, in the specific scenarios, and also in their own groups. And the truth is that you can never get away from both of these forces. Both of these forces exist everywhere in everything to some degree. To some small degree, there is always the feminine principle at play. To some small degree, there is always the masculine principle. The feminine principle is relief, ease, flow, compassion. This masculine principle is fire and warrior spirit, standing your ground, carving your way into the wilderness for yourself. And both of these things, they always exist to some degree. Now, that doesn't mean that they're exactly the same. It doesn't mean they exist in the same degree, right? Don't confuse they always are around with they're always around in the same, at the same level. In certain situations, there's a little bit more masculinity and maybe just a speck of femininity. And in other situations, there's a ton of femininity and maybe just a speck of masculinity. And these forces need to be able to move like that. Their ability to go up and down with each other, to flow in and out with each other, is what creates life itself. So both of these things are crucially important like that. And they exist within us all. There's something every man can learn by studying femininity and understanding femininity in the world, in their relationship in life. And there's something every woman can understand by understanding masculinity. And there's some in every relationship that they have, in every situation, in every reality of the world. You know, there are both of these principles, and they're both important. They're both precious, and there's a space for both of them, and it's just about the wisdom to know exactly how much to pour on the situation, giving yourself that right dose in that right timing. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of those principles. Bless all the female energy, bless all the male energy. God bless us all together, working in harmony, and the respect and the appreciation of both forces in this world. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for tuning in to Heart of the Lion. See ya.